On my birthday, my boyfriend publicly declared his upcoming marriage to another woman during a company gathering. I didn't shed tears or make a scene, I simply sought some explanations from him. By chance, I overheard his chat with a buddy. He questioned, "Aren't you worried about upsetting Emma Wilson?" To which he replied, "If I don't marry Olivia, her family will just marry her off to some random person. I can't stand to watch her go through that. Besides, Emma and I have been together for 8 years. Everybody sees her as my partner, and she has no other options but to wait for me." Subsequently, his family arranged a more fitting match for him. Ironically, on the day I was to be married, he too was the groom at his own wedding. He seemed nervous, constantly felt a bad premonition, and instructed everyone to keep an eye out during the wedding to prevent me from causing any disturbances. At that point, one of the groomsmen awkwardly mentioned, "Didn't you know, Emma is getting married today as well? Does the Parker family's proposal still stand?" Upon hearing this, my mother, who was slightly shaking her teacup, looked at me in astonishment and asked with evident concern, "Emma, why are you bringing this up now?" Just then, a video of James Miller proposing had gone viral. Everyone was aware of the Millers' forthcoming celebration, yet the bride wasn't me. Despite our 8-year relationship, seeing my silence, my mother anxiously stated, "Emma, marriage is a serious commitment. Don't make hasty decisions." I held back my sorrow and replied, "Mom, I just wanted to understand why you didn't immediately dismiss the Parker proposal. You believe Lucas Parker is more dependable than James, don't you?" "I respect your judgment," she admitted. "Lucas, the youngest son of the Parker family, is indeed a decent choice. But shouldn't you meet him first before deciding?" I responded, "No need. You can handle this matter, I'm okay with it." After our discussion, I had a meal at home and then went back to my small apartment. Unexpectedly, James was there when I returned. Hearing the door, he paused his work and looked up. "Were you busy with work today?" I asked, changing my shoes. "I just got back from a social event and thought I'd stop by to see you," he replied, as he approached to embrace me. I caught the familiar scent of women's perfume, one commonly worn by Olivia Thompson. A feeling of resistance surged within me as I instinctively pulled away. I attempted to move away, seeking freedom from his embrace, yet, as emotions overwhelmed me, he noticed. "You can leave now," I told him. At these words, James's movement halted midair, a slight smile crossing his face. "Emma, stop. Didn't you express a desire just days ago for us to spend more time together? I cleared my schedule for today just for you. Remember, yesterday was my birthday. I waited all day and night for your call, which never came until late evening." At that moment, I received a video from an unknown source. In it, James was proposing to Olivia in front of all the company's employees, who cheered enthusiastically. Shocked, I rushed to his workplace to confront him, only to accidentally overhear his conversation with his brother. It was then I realized that in this romantic endeavor, I was merely a laughingstock, reflecting on his words from the night before. My heart felt as though it had been pierced, the pain nearly suffocating me. Tears welled up in my eyes as I faced the kind-eyed man before me, blurring my vision. For reasons unknown, my heart always felt tight, as if I were on the verge of suffocation. Seeing my tears, James immediately became frantic. He clumsily wiped them away, asking, "Why are you crying? Who upset you? Tell me, and I'll handle it." Since our childhood, James was known as the local rascal, always up to mischief and frequently being chased by his mother for punishment. On the other hand, was a frail premature baby, and my health was always fragile. My parents were protective, rarely letting me join other children outside. I could only sit by the window, watching enviously as they played freely. Whenever James noticed me daydreaming at the window, he'd sneak over to bring me snacks and gently pinch my cheeks, whispering, "Little sister, when will you be able to come out and play with me?" By the time I reached middle school, my health had improved enough for my parents to let me go outside. James was always protective, ensuring I was safe. He would say, "Emma, if you ever face trouble outside, just mention my name. No one will dare to bother you." Since then, I never felt lonely when going out. He was always there, accompanying me to places I wanted to visit, always ready to defend me if someone tried to bully me. From the very first moment I set foot in university, he became a steadfast sanctuary for me, and our bond naturally flourished. His demeanor softened over time, showering me with love and affection, until our 3rd year when Olivia entered the scene, disrupting the harmony between us. She was intelligent, striking, and assertive, executing her actions with precision and grace, and she possessed a warm, generous spirit. Moreover, she shared the same academic department with James. And they shared an understanding that eluded me. Initially, James assisted me with translations, but soon found it burdensome and dismissively suggested I find other diversions since I wouldn't grasp their discussions. They conversed incessantly, spanning topics from daily life to digital trends, from morning till night. As this happened, my interactions with James dwindled. A friend cautioned me to monitor their closeness, but I remained skeptical. In relationships, some privacy is normal. I trusted him fully, convinced he harbored feelings for no one else. However, reality struck a cruel blow when one evening James stayed over, claiming worry for my well-being. I watched him in silence, reflecting on my feelings, and after expressing my thoughts, I retreated to my room and swiftly locked the door behind me. James lingered outside, his face etched with complexity. After a pause, he spoke, "Emma, I'll wait here. When you're ready, come out and we can talk, okay?" His words went unanswered as tears scorched my chilled hands, each drop a painful reminder of my fading love for him. The following morning, nursing a sore head, I exited my room to find James hastily donning his coat, ready to leave. "Emma, something urgent came up. I have to go now, but I'll pick you up tonight for dinner," he said, not pausing for my reply before disappearing. As I stood there, my eyes fell on the sofa where he had been seated. And I noticed he had left his phone in his hurry. I picked it up, intending to return it later, but as I did, a message flashed on the screen. With no password set, the contents were immediately visible. The message was from a contact saved as Olivia, accompanied by a photo of her in a hospital's emergency room. Despite her disheveled appearance, she managed a smile and a peace sign at the camera. The message read, "Take your time getting here, drive safely, I'll wait for you." In that moment, the pieces fell into place, and I understood his hasty departure. Earlier today, I couldn't help but grin at my reflection before contacting a local delivery service to send my phone to the office. Subsequently, I headed to my workplace, where I've been employed since graduating, to continue gaining experience. Initially hired as a junior staff member by my father, my dedication has since earned me a promotion to department manager. Upon reaching the office, my assistant handed me a project proposal. "Emma, this document needs your signature. Everything's ready, it's just awaiting your approval." Upon examining the document more closely, I realized it involved a partnership with Miller Corp. Yet I couldn't recall any details of this project. "Has Mr. Wilson approved this?" I inquired. The assistant hesitated briefly before responding, "No, but didn't you mention that unless it's a major collaboration, Miller Corp should be our first option?" Suddenly, it dawned on me that I had indeed expressed that sentiment, thinking our companies would merge into one extended family, so the financial benefits seemed secondary at the time. Let's overlook this for now, but in future instances, I must prioritize the company's interests, I concluded, after a long day at work. I packed up and decided to try the new Chinese restaurant. Upon arrival, I discovered it was fully booked. Just as I was about to leave, I heard a familiar voice, "Emma, are you here for dinner as well?" Turning around, I saw Olivia and James, both beaming. James, momentarily taken aback, quickly composed himself and exclaimed, "I was about to call you to join us for dinner. I never expected you to show up on your own. Come, let's dine together." He signaled the waiter for an extra set of chopsticks. "I skipped lunch, and I'm famished," I admitted, settling down at their table. "Emma, I recall you enjoy spicy food. Shall we order some more flavorful dishes?" he suggested, looking over the table. I noticed it was filled with mild dishes. Both James and I prefer robust flavors. He once remarked that food without chili lacked soul, as if every bite was torturous. Yet now, he appeared utterly indifferent to the array of bland dishes. Shooting Olivia a playful yet disgruntled look, he half-jokingly said, "I think you just want to eat, but remember, the doctor advised you to stick to bland food recently." Olivia, the one who was playfully criticized, exhaled sharply and conceded, "All right, butler, I will defer to your judgment. Is that acceptable?" As I observed their exchange, my heart ached, yet I managed to stay composed. He gave a resigned shake of his head, insisting, "You all go ahead and eat, I need to make a call." As James walked away, Olivia's smile gradually disappeared, and she turned to me with a challenging look. "Emma, you've truly surprised me. Despite knowing that James has proposed to me, you continue to pursue him. You've got quite the audacity," she said, her words dripping with disdain. I lifted my head, pondering whether flaunting a stolen boyfriend was something to be proud of here, before she could finish her sentence. The restaurant's kitchen was engulfed in thick smoke and someone yelled, "Fire!" With that declaration, the previously noisy restaurant was thrown into instant turmoil as patrons scrambled to exit. I too reacted swiftly, standing up to leave, when suddenly I collided with someone. Still unsteady, I recognized a familiar voice. "Olivia, don't worry, I'll lead you out." James hurried forward, his focus solely on getting Olivia to safety. His heart pounded with relief after they emerged unscathed. And he wrapped his arms around her tightly, exclaiming, "Thank goodness you're okay." As he spoke, he suddenly remembered and turned sharply, only to see me observing the scene from a distance. My expression detached, his voice faltered as he stammered, "Emma, I acted too hastily just now. I didn't mean to overlook your safety." I interrupted him coldly, realizing as he walked away with her that the James who once vowed to always protect me had long since faded away. Seeing that I wasn't upset, he sighed in relief and offered to take me home, but I declined. "There's no need. Olivia seems quite shaken. You should take her home." In the days that followed, I ceased all communication with James and busied myself with wedding preparations. During my lunch break, I received a call from the designer to collect the custom-made wedding dress, a dress I had initially intended for proposing to James. Unexpectedly, as soon as I entered the store, Olivia appeared behind me. Seeing the gift box in my hand, she arrogantly told the designer, "I want to try on that wedding dress." The designer responded apologetically, "I'm sorry, but this dress was specifically made for Emma. It belongs to her alone." Olivia scoffed dismissively at the custom wedding dress as if mocking the idea of my impending marriage. At that moment, she seemed to come to a realization and exploded, "Are you trying to wear that?" Seeing her wild expression, I felt no urge to react. Convinced she was unwell and needed professional help rather than causing a scene, while I was ready to depart, clutching the gift box, she suddenly lunged at me. Caught off guard, she violently ripped open the box and started pulling at the stunning wedding dress inside. The chaos didn't end there. She raced to the reception desk, grabbed a pair of scissors, and began to slash the dress savagely. "Emma, don't you dare destroy my wedding. I will wreck your dress right this moment. Let's see how you create trouble now," Olivia shouted, furious. I attempted to retrieve the dress, but the scissors she wielded sliced my arm, and blood poured out instantly. Olivia froze, and after a moment's pause, she began to slice her own arm, then collapsed to the floor, sobbing quietly. I stood there, dumbfounded by her almost insane actions, and right as I was about to intervene, James burst in. The sight before him sparked his rage, and he shot me a look of intense anger. "Emma, since when did you become so cruel?" he accused, his voice thick with fury, before turning to Olivia, whose eyes brimmed with sorrow, gently lifting her. Olivia, resting against his chest, managed to utter through her tears, "James, it's all my fault. Don't blame Emma. She didn't mean to hurt me." With his jaw clenched, James warned, "Emma, if anything happens to Olivia, I will not let it slide," before storming off with Olivia in his arms. He didn't realize that the store's surveillance had captured the entire incident. The designer nearby offered to help clear up the misunderstanding, but I declined with a shake of my head. This situation would definitively end our ties. Time passed, and soon it was my wedding day. Standing before me was Lucas, my soon-to-be husband, whose handsome features carried a slightly aloof air. When his eyes met mine, they softened with a hint of warmth. Feeling a mix of emotions about the future, his presence seemed to calm my nerves as he reassured, "Don't be nervous, I'll handle everything." Lucas gracefully led me to greet our families and serve tea. His elegant manner made me feel at ease, and as we settled into the wedding car, his attentiveness ensured everything was in order, helping soothe the lingering anxiety within me. Meanwhile, James, seated in another wedding car, looked noticeably restless on what should have been a significant day. I was supposed to receive updates, but he seemed to have scrolled through his entire phone with no news of me. Upon our arrival at the hotel, his anxiety did not diminish, it intensified. He surveyed the area and assertively instructed several groomsmen, ensure the wedding venue remains secure and prevent Emma from causing any disruptions. In the next instant, One of the groomsmen couldn't contain his laughter and reassured him, "Don't worry, Emma is too occupied to stir up any trouble. She's also getting married today at this hotel and is likely in the middle of her own wedding ceremony." The wedding festivities were intricate, and after the hustle and bustle, I was nearly too exhausted to remain upright. Lucas noticed how weary I was and suggested, "Why don't you go and freshen up?" I blinked, slightly embarrassed. It was our wedding night, and his suggestion seemed innocent but suggestive. Imagining what could happen next, my ears began to burn red. "Don't stress, I won't pressure you," he assured, as he removed his suit jacket, fetched a new blanket from the closet, and set it aside. "We're married now, so we can take our time. There's no need to rush anything." True to his word, he didn't impose anything on me, even though we were lying in the same bed, with two separate blankets between us. In bed, I started reflecting on the wedding gifts from his family, feeling somewhat uneasy. It baffled me why Lucas, whom I barely knew, would come to my home with a marriage proposal. As I mulled this over, I ventured to ask him about it. Lucas's breathing was soft, like a gentle breeze. After a long wait with no reply, just as I thought he had fallen into deep sleep, he suddenly declared, "I want to marry you, that's why I did this." His response caught me off guard, leaving me slightly dazed. I continued to probe, "Did we know each other before?" No answer came. He suddenly turned over and embraced me through the blanket, suggesting, "If you aren't sleepy, why not do something meaningful?" I quickly shook my head, indicating my exhaustion. "I'm too tired," I murmured, and hurriedly closed my eyes, not daring to speak again. In the darkness, I faintly heard him chuckle softly. Meanwhile, tension escalated in the Miller household. James yelled, "Find out exactly who Emma married." Furious, his eyes seemed ready to explode, and he abruptly kicked the coffee table in front of him. Olivia, clad in a red nightgown and shaking with fear, tentatively stepped forward. On our wedding night, whispering softly, Emma told James it was their special evening. However, James brusquely rebuffed her and yelled, "Get out." He was in disbelief, realizing that he had inadvertently become the husband of another. His eyes burned with a persistent anger. Despite his frequent texts and calls, he only ever received replies from a cold, mechanical female voice. After sending messages and receiving no answers, James's hands shook as he painstakingly reviewed their past conversations. As he did, his emotions swung wildly between tears and laughter, until someone informed him that Emma had married Lucas, the young heir of the Parker family. Upon hearing this, James, without even changing his shoes, snatched his car keys and raced to the Parker residence. At that moment, I was in the midst of a dream, faintly hearing someone shouting. As I stirred, my awareness sharpened and the shouting became clearer. "Emma, come out. I won't let you marry someone else. You belong to me." At that voice, I jolted upright and instinctively scanned the room. Lucas was not beside me. Tentatively, I called out his name, hearing noises from the balcony. I quickly jumped out of bed and dashed over. James's voice intensified, "Emma, come out quickly. If you don't, I won't leave. Emma, I love you. Come back with me, and I will fulfill all your desires and never upset you again." Hearing his words, irritation surged within me. I walked to the balcony where Lucas was leisurely observing the bustling scene below, a cigarette dangling unlit between his fingers. Upon seeing me, he promptly crushed the cigarette underfoot and quietly inquired, "Did I wake you? Today is our wedding day, yet my ex-boyfriend is creating a scene. No one should have to deal with this." I responded, unsure of what Lucas was thinking or how to proceed. He glanced at me, his brow furrowing as he noticed my bare feet on the cool floor. He then lifted me effortlessly, causing me to gasp. "Why aren't you wearing shoes?" he asked, at a loss for words. I remained silent as Lucas gently set me back on the bed, like comforting a child. He smoothed my blanket and softly urged, "Go back to sleep. It's still early." However, he remained downstairs handling the disruption. He sent someone to manage the situation before making a phone call and returning to bed. Lucas didn't discuss the matter further, considering our marriage was one of convenience, devoid of real affection. It seemed the incident mattered little to him. With this thought, I slowly drifted back to sleep. After closing my eyes, I quickly drifted off to a deep sleep. Upon waking, my first instinct was to grab my phone to check the time, only to discover it had powered off due to a drained battery. I immediately put it on charge, and as it turned back on, notifications for missed calls and unread messages flooded in. Before checking his messages, I opened James's chat window and sent a direct reply. I am already married. Please refrain from contacting me in the future. Shortly after, he responded, Emma, stop joking. I know you're just kidding. Are you upset because I married Olivia? I paid him no further attention and proceeded to erase all his contact details. Just as I finished, Lucas knocked on the door. He remained composed and softly suggested, get ready when you wake up, we're heading to my mom's for dinner later. The Parker family parents, known for their open-minded and romantic nature, had rushed off to travel the globe immediately following the wedding. They mentioned it was to allow us space to enjoy our new life together. Thus, the destination for the afternoon was my parents' house. I quickly freshened up, applied some light makeup, and accompanied him home. My mom beamed with joy upon seeing us, her smile stretching from ear to ear, especially when she noticed Lucas unloading all the gifts he brought. Her eyes twinkled with delight. Just coming back is wonderful, but all these gifts are a bit much, she exclaimed. Lucas modestly replied, it's nothing much, each gift is chosen with care and holds significant value. My father and Lucas then retreated to the study for a chat, while I was drawn into the kitchen by my mom. She peeked outside the door and in a hushed tone asked, did James cause any trouble at your place last night? Surprised, I inquired, how did you know? She explained. A friend who lives near you came by this morning to inquire about the incident. You live among influential and affluent neighbors, and since you got married yesterday, who wouldn't be aware, with his antics, have you considered how this reflects on you? The more she pondered it, the more agitated she became, expressing a desire to confront him. As for Lucas, I mentioned that he hadn't said much, maintaining his usual calm demeanor, unperturbed by the situation. My mom sighed, resigned, and said, if James has any grievances, we should address them calmly without resorting to conflict. Let's not let trivial matters jeopardize your marriage. As soon as she finished speaking, the phone of my mother rang. Glancing at the caller ID, she realized it was James's mother on the line. Despite her current distant attitude towards their family, given their over 2 decades of friendship, my mother felt compelled to answer. Upon picking up, it was James who spoke. Auntie, apologies for the disruption, but could you possibly put me in touch with Emma? My mother looked over at me, responding sharply, James, aren't you a married man? Why are you looking for Emma? He hesitated, then said, well, I really need to speak to Emma. Aunt, could you please help me reach her? Hearing this, my mother's temper flared. If it weren't for your parents, I wouldn't have even considered this call. My daughter is married. Have some decency and leave her be. Or I won't be polite, she retorted and ended the call angrily. As she stood up in my defense, I felt a deep warmth in my heart. I had always seen James as too proud to return after such a scolding, yet to my surprise, he showed up during dinner, calling out from outside as my mother refused him entry. Emma, I know you're there. I won't leave until I see you, he shouted, his persistence clear. Our neighbors, who had known us for over a decade, were aware of the commotion, which wasn't ideal. I shared my concerns with Lucas, who humorously assured me, if anything goes wrong, just yell, and we'll be right out. I smiled and nodded at his words. When I stepped outside, James was there waiting, a gift bag in hand. His eyes brightened the moment he saw me. Emma, you came out to see me, he said, his voice shaky with emotion. With a stern face, I cut him off. What is it that you truly want, James? Carefully, he pulled out a stack of photos from the bag. They were all of us, numbering in the thousands, capturing our times together. Emma, these are photos of us growing up. Look, we were so happy, he said, his voice laden with emotion. I don't love Olivia. Marrying her was merely to free her from her family's dominance. Now that they know she's married, they won't pressure her anymore. I plan to file for divorce tomorrow, and we'll have the certificate in a month. I watched him coldly, moved by the depth of his feelings as he was brought to tears by his own words. It's completely absurd. He claims he doesn't have feelings for Olivia, yet he's going out of his way to assist her, even to the point of considering divorce. What makes him think that I'll just be waiting for him when he decides to come back? Do you truly grasp what it means to genuinely like someone? For James, affection, or the lack thereof, is a matter dictated by the heart, not merely words spoken aloud. His actions clearly indicate that he harbors feelings for Olivia, despite his denials. Perhaps he does understand what it means to have feelings for someone, but he seems more concerned with his own interests. It's not like that, Emma. I was mistaken before. I only regard Olivia as a sister. Her family places higher value on males than females. If I don't step in, her parents might force her into marrying a stranger. I feel pity for her and just want to support her. If you want to assist her, that's your prerogative, but why should I wait for you? Moreover, you professed your feelings for me, fully aware that I got married just yesterday. Then, you showed up at our house and made a scene about us. Have you considered how our neighbors might perceive me? James's face stiffened and paled. I was too hasty and didn't think things through, he admitted. When you made those comments, you didn't consider the implications, which could ruin me. James, is this your idea of affection? It seems more like an attempt to humiliate me. If it were anyone else, I might believe it was accidental, but I can't accept that from him. It didn't seem like he was trying to reach out to me in earnest. I felt an inner resistance and instinctively recoiled from his touch. A flicker of pain crossed his eyes, which quickly reddened as he pleaded in a low, desperate tone, Emma, please don't treat me this way. Go back. I'm already married. Don't trouble me anymore. Have you forgotten what we shared? Suddenly, James lunged forward, gripping my arm tightly. Emma, divorce him, and in a month we can marry. I promise to organize a magnificent wedding for you. Whatever he can provide, I can match. Trust me once more, okay? He wouldn't let go, even as I tried to pull away. He kept pulling me towards the car, insisting, I'm taking you home now, Emma. We promised to spend our lives together. His overly agitated state was unsettling. In a reflex, I shouted, Lucas! In a flash, a figure rushed towards us. Before I could react further, I heard a sound. The grip on my arm released, and I was suddenly enveloped in Lucas's warm embrace. His chest heaved rapidly as I leaned against him, the world around us seeming to freeze, with only the sound of his heartbeat audible. Meanwhile, James had been knocked to the ground by a punch. As he looked up at the unfamiliar man, pain and confusion filled his eyes. He yelled, Who are you, Lucas? With his arms gently around my waist as if to stake his claim, responded, I'm her husband. He then lowered his head, kissed my forehead softly, and whispered just for me, Don't be afraid, I'm here. I was still slightly uneasy, but my anxious heart began to settle after hearing his reassuring words. Much like a wounded bird finds comfort in a warm nest, James, however, struggled to his feet awkwardly, his dim eyes showing clear signs of hurt and disbelief. He couldn't accept that I was married. Holding Lucas's hand, adorned with a wedding ring, I told James, I am indeed married. There's no point in continuing this. What does it matter if I'm married, as long as we love each other? Who can stop us? Yet, James refused to let it go and attempted to pull me away. Do you really think he's a good person? If he were, why would he stir up trouble now? Lucas's expression then turned stern. He pushed me gently behind him and whispered, Be careful. Step back, don't get hurt. I instinctively moved back, and in a moment, they were fighting. Lucas's punches were forceful. Despite James's regular workouts, he was clearly no match. Soon, James couldn't retaliate. Calmly, I took out my phone and called an ambulance, as I tried to stop Lucas, urging him not to make the situation worse. He snorted coldly and let go of James. Fine, I'll listen to you, he said. James, lying on the ground unable to move, reached out and grabbed my ankle. Disgusted, I told him, James, can you not be so vile? I never want to see you again. I informed my parents that the ambulance was on its way, then left with Lucas. When we arrived home, I noticed the bruises on his face. Where's the first aid kit? I'll apply some medicine for you, I said. He found the kit and obediently sat on the sofa, waiting for my help. He had a fierce temper in the past and usually resolved conflicts with his fists. When he returned home, he feared reprimands from his family, so I often took care of his injuries outdoors before he felt comfortable going inside. This experience made me quite adept at managing minor injuries. However, when I approached him one day, a fleeting image crossed my mind. What's wrong? You seem distracted, Lucas inquired. I suddenly had the sensation that he looked familiar. Did you recall something? He continued. I blinked, my mind still muddled. He smiled warmly, squeezed my fingertip lightly, and remarked somewhat teasingly, Ungrateful, remember when you were nearly bullied, and I intervened. You treated my wounds back then, just as you do now. His words left me astonished. I recalled an incident during my senior year of high school when James had skipped class to play basketball after my class. I went looking for him with my backpack. As I walked through a quiet alley, a group of thugs stopped me, demanding my money. Terrified, I complied, but they were not satisfied and began to drag me further into the alley. Overwhelmed with fear, I screamed, and just then, a boy came to my rescue. To show my gratitude, I bought some disinfectant to treat his injuries. But just as I was doing so, James called out to me, and I completely forgot to ask the boy's name. Seeing me lost in thought, Lucas realized I remembered that day. I nodded, struggling to speak. He looked down and apologized. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be forgotten. I've always been thankful to the person who helped me that day. It's just that so much time has passed. His face has blurred in my memory. His eyes twinkled playfully as he lightly pinched my cheek. Confusion swirled inside me, my heart racing unexpectedly. And I even felt shy meeting his gaze. Lucas, you're not marrying me because of that, are you? I managed to ask, my heart pounding. No, he replied, and I felt an odd sense of disappointment. But in the next moment, he drew me into his embrace, my ear against his chest, feeling the rhythm of his heartbeat. I've mentioned before, I want to marry you, so I proposed. I was already prepared for your answer. His voice trembled slightly as he spoke, and I found myself blushing. Initially, I had believed that marriage was simply a matter of timing. The partner was inconsequential, however. His words opened my eyes to the truth. There is indeed a difference. The realization that marrying someone who genuinely excites my heart is the most wonderful thing in the world was enlightening. Lucas, do you care for me? Isn't it obvious? I'll make it even clearer in the days to come. I couldn't suppress a chuckle as I recalled his confrontation earlier that day and his remarks to my mother. It struck me that I had been too naive. He wasn't a capybara devoid of emotions, but rather someone who mastered his feelings well. With this thought, I asked him, have you been wanting to confront James for a long time? He calmly nodded and admitted he had felt this way since their first encounter. Lucas's gaze grew intense as he rolled over to hold me. I was taken aback and my eyes widened, but he kissed me gently. His kiss, tender yet fiery, ignited a passionate response within me. After a brief pause, he whispered, Emma, is this okay? I didn't speak. Just wrapped my arms around him tightly and closed my eyes. That night, as the wind and rain danced around us, our feelings warmed and deepened. As I drifted off to sleep, I barely caught his soft murmur, finally, I don't have to secretly watch over you anymore. Emma, you're mine now. Time passed, and I heard nothing of James. Later, I found out that after his capture, Lucas had discreetly visited his home and spoken to his parents. Though the Miller family was affluent, they couldn't match the century-old influence of the Parker family and didn't dare confront them directly. Consequently, James was confined by his own family. The more he dwelled on his situation, the more he blamed Olivia. If not for his involvement with her, he wouldn't have lost everything. Desperate, he escaped, confronted Olivia, and demanded a divorce, reluctant to let her happiness slip away. Olivia drugged James and, in her manipulation, became pregnant. Thinking this would secure her place, however, when James discovered the pregnancy, he forced her to undergo an abortion. This procedure not only ended her pregnancy but also left her physically unable to have children ever again. Upon learning this, she was devastated and completely broken. James, who had arrived to serve the divorce documents, was fatally stabbed a total of 30 times in a matter of minutes, leading to his rapid demise. The next morning, when Olivia regained consciousness, she recognized that her life was irreversibly altered. Overwhelmed by despair, she decided to ascend to the hospital's rooftop and leapt to her death. Upon hearing this tragic news, I was mid-flight to the Maldives for my honeymoon with Lucas. I set my phone aside and, resting against Lucas, I fiddled with the wedding band on his finger and murmured, Lucas, we'll always find happiness together. He replied, absolutely. Our journey is still ahead, and our love will only deepen. Do you have any insights after watching the above story? Feel free to tell us in the comments sections below. Don't forget to like and subscribe our channel. See you next time.